What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on VinFast. I want to go over some of the data points, what shorts are doing, and what's been coming out from the company. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So currently it is down 0.29%, a little bit low for volume. So 1.2 million shares being traded, 5.7 is the average. And as far as starting off with some of the data points, I'm going to kick it off with options. So $695,000 in calls being purchased versus 451,000 in puts. So based on this information, people are anticipating for it to trend up. And that's one thing that I have been bringing up over the last several videos is just the technicals have started to stabilize. So very strong support around the 1550 range that it did bounce off of. If you are optimistic, this shows all the calls as far as the strike prices, expiry dates. Based on this, it is anticipated to go back to around the 20 to maybe around the 2050 range. So kind of narrow as far as that. If you are negative and looking at puts, it is anticipated to be, it looks like around sub $15 by the end of the week. So once again, that's kind of a different viewpoints, different extremes. Let me know your thoughts on that. But regardless, when it comes down to options activity, this is just merely a sentiment. It does not move the stock price. These are all the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market over $100,000. Only one for today, 238,000. As far as dark pool, these are all the transactions that have occurred so far. So it doesn't look like there's been any transactions today, a lot yesterday. And of course, dark pool is very much linked to shorting. So I'll give you an overview of that. And of course, a lot of people still are posting saying that VinFast could be a squeeze. So that's something just to consider. I'm not here to say that it is or isn't. I'm just using this as a benchmark. But short score is currently 81. Utilization is 67.58%. But as of right now, about 16.37 thousand shares are being increased. So kind of a small drop in the bucket. 21.59% of the free float is being shorted. 1.55 million shares overall are being shorted. And as of right now, it does indicate the Interactive Broker short availability is around 1 million. So 1 million shares is available for shorts if they see fit. And cost to borrow average did go down quite a lot. So it is currently at 257.91%. And the reason why that most likely did go down is because of this F1. So there was a prospectus that was submitted on the 12th, and based on this post right here, it does look like based on this, there was some issuance that did actually occur, and because of that, that does free up the float. And when it comes down to these cost to borrows, it just is supply and demand. So of course, with more available shares, of course, to be loaned out, then this is where the price does drop. So once again, that's something just to keep in mind. But when it comes down to it, I will read through this, do a dedicated video on this actual F1 and talk on exactly what it is trying to say. But outside of that, this did come out yesterday from VinFast. So it does say VinFast announced Q2 2023 and the first half of 2023 delivery results and the date of their Q2 2023 earnings call. So the earnings call is kind of right around the corner. So September the 21st. So this upcoming Thursday, I will live stream this as well if you guys would be interested in that. So I can definitely do that. But it does state right here within Q2, they did deliver 9,535 EVs. And that is basically 5 times what they did in Q1. So far within the first half of 2023, 11,315 EVs. So kind of interesting as far as that, because there's other companies that I do cover, such as even Lucid, and their year-end target is between 10 to 14. So definitely VinFast is pretty good. So I think that caught a lot of people off guard in a positive way. But other than that, though, no other news, no SEC filings, nothing like that. When it comes down to the technicals, though, this is where I feel like a lot of people have been very optimistic, because as of right now, if we take a zoom out of this right here, as you can see, so it is technically still wedge bound between the 50 and 100-day moving average, like I indicated last video. And when it comes to it, with it currently at $17.26, it is currently between this P and R1, which in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks and a lot of the other EVs, it actually is doing fairly well. So take that with a grain of salt, because as well, I'm not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. So 1823 is a very strong resistance, vice versa. 1708 is a very strong support. And it did briefly break below that. So that's something just to consider and be aware of. But Like I've mentioned, this $15 range has really held its support very well. So definitely that could be the saving grace for VinFast technically. And looking as far as this number of retail investors are getting in, very optimistic about this clearly and the upcoming earnings. But over and above that though, looking at stochastic, it is currently at 3, which is considered very oversold, but there isn't any defined trend right now. So I do feel oddly very optimistic about VinFast despite the PE ratio that I've brought up in the past. So I'll quickly pop this up just to give you a perspective on what it currently is saying. So VinFast, as you can see right here, looking at the multiples, and just to give you a little bit more of a backstory, when I did start to really cover this, that's one thing that I did bring up is the PS ratio in comparison to a lot of other EVs and how it's appropriately priced. And even at that time when I started to cover it, I think it was around $13 to $12, and I was saying that a lot of people aren't really forecasting the future correctly with VinFast, especially on how much they can actually produce, because they could potentially have a full capacity up to 300,000 vehicles per year, which is huge. But in reality, a lot of people are just seeing just what they have done as of that moment and not really forecasting anything for the future. So this is why I think it did go up as much as it did, but at its peak, it did have a PS ratio, I think, of 298, but even in comparison right now, 74.6 is still rather high. So this is where a lot of people are saying that in theory it does need to kind of retrace back down to around the $9 to $8 range. That would put it in a very comparable, I guess, evaluation, similar to Rivian or even like Polestar, companies such as that have a very good foundation, that have actually started to kind of prove and deliver their vehicles on a consistent basis. So once again, that's kind of the backstory there. I do feel that there's going to be a lot of volatility, as you can tell based on looking at some of the fib levels. The gap on a lot of these pivot points are very wide, so you just have to anticipate a lot of volatility in the short term. But yeah, kind of interesting when it comes down to VinFast. It seems to be doing its own thing in options, despite when it was at its peak, a lot of people were doing puts. But as of right now, based on this, 62% of the volume today is bullish. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And like I mentioned, let me know if you would be interested in me live streaming for this upcoming earnings call on September the 21st, so basically in about 2 days. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo as I've been sharing with you. Sign up for an account with MULN, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock can be valued at $2,000. So this is one of the best deals, only up until September the 30th. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate you all watching, and let's all make a ton of money on VinFast.